how do you ever do the Akashic records for them to see what is the connection between their planet and our planet?
Absolutely. I have them regularly call into my radio show over the last 7 to 9 years. So, yes, sometimes they come for personal private sessions. Sometimes they come to retreats. And sometimes the human that comes to visit me doesn't realize there might be 7 or 8 alien beings stuck inside them because of a, let's say, technological time travel disaster that happened thousands of years ago, and they're stuck in a lineage, in a reincarnating lineage, and that human doesn't realize what's going on into them, and they hear all these voices over many years, and I help them separate the voices, and then I can help separate the alien out of the body and bring it back to its home world so it can become an astral being again and go through its life review on its home world.
What do you find is the agenda of the sick extraterrestrials?
Well, there's so many sick extraterrestrials. You have to define them as annihilation. Those are the sickest. They're trying to uncreate the universe so they can recreate it in their own image, so that there isn't a prime creator or a universal being of oneness. They want to overwrite the universal oneness so that their oneness is all oneness. And then you have other ones who want to control everyone's perception of time and make them what we would call founder beings, the ones that created your race, and they want to be worshipped as gods. Then you have other ones who are here to just technologically manipulate people for resources. Now, if you mine gold out of the ground, it can be transmuted into billions of different things. The light here on Earth creates special matter, and very special matter has unique properties on other worlds. So they oftentimes will work with specific human beings who are miners, this and that, to extract things out of human beings, whether it's elements out of them, so that they can transmute them here on this world, taking them to another world, and then transmute it into a much higher density material that can then be used to create technologies that can alter time-space, because they're all about controlling time and space. And then you have other ones who we'll simply call more demonic, because they followed a story arc for many thousands of years, and they don't want to break the story arc because so many people believe in that story.
Yes, yes. And it seems to be continually refreshed, so to speak, to keep us and keep us in darkness and in fear, and of course the wars that are instigated in many instances where some of the, I guess you could say, loosh is the term that's been used on the internet to describe the access of collecting negative emotions to feed upon, and of course extraterrestrials that feed upon the human species itself. The human condition.
Yeah. Not,
okay.
If we weren't in this condition, they wouldn't be able to feed off of us.
Correct. Our agreements with them seem to continue on, and we'll have to break those agreements. I think you call them contracts.
Contract revocation, yes. Reclaiming your authority so nothing can use your authority as tacit consent.
Yes, there you go. My experience with extraterrestrials started at birth and came on through. I'm in the 70s, so I've had abduction experiences and so forth. And now, because I have been a part of the new presentation for the last 6 or 7 years, more information is coming out, which enlightens, enlarges the scope of seeing, in the sense, what's going on around. Sometimes most people I run into, my family included, do not see any of the things that I see, which, okay, you let them go down their road and you go down your road, and, good luck. I think this is one of the things that your talent is providing, is a help to others to actually come into agreement that there are things that they do not see that exist. There are conditions that have come about that they didn't want, but they agreed to at some point in time, maybe several lifetimes ago, and now they're having to deal with it. What do you offer to these people?
So what you just said is they have to deal with it as a conscious being of choice and awareness. You are only equal, your responsibility is only equal to your level of awareness. And oftentimes people who can't perceive the information that you are don't have enough responsibility in their own life force to be that high level of awareness because they don't have a daily spiritual practice. They don't have spiritual hygiene that keeps them clear enough so that their awareness can go through expansions and expansions. That's what the awakening is about. And yes, my talent is to help people discover that you must be responsible to your awareness. And there is information out there that is weaponized to take you into unawareness, where tacit consent can be used against you.
Yes, exactly. Therefore, we stay uninformed and still in slavery. Thank you.
Ignorant, blissfully ignorant.
Yes, and the thing is, the Earth now is in trouble, and it needs help.
This is where I will differ. The Earth is not in trouble. That is the perception of marketing through the New Age community that has confused what it is. Our condition has been created by this planet over many millions of years. It is fully a part of the light, the dark, the in-between, and everything else. It is a celestial being that can live with trillions of beings on its surface, subsurface, and astral world. It is a giant collective of love that is here to ground you in a point in space-time in a solar system that is rotating around a galaxy. That is your galactic time. Your avatar or higher spirit incarnates or reincarnates into a sub-frequency of time in your solar system to resolve generational karmas or eras of light karma. Now, oftentimes when people are connected into off-world beings, there are other eras of light where whole species hated another species and that karma was never resolved because those worlds were destroyed or whatever ended up happening. And then huge volumes of the species come to live here and they don't realize they're living right next door to somebody they should hate. But in their unawareness, they become neighbors, they become friends, and they resolve things in that unawareness. But it's still the fetus in the womb that helps you plan the grander journey where blissfully ignorant is still resolving karma one way or another.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time. It is deeply appreciated.
Thank you.
Andrew, do you do dreams? Do you have what we call real side experiences? I mean, what are they like? I'm just curious. Are you conscious? Yes.
Well, I do have normal dreams like everyone else, and then I have something else that's called superluminal dreams, where I'm experiencing light and many worlds. I'm simultaneously existing in many dream worlds and experiencing many dreams very fast, or traveling between galaxies and universes and experiencing the change in eras of light and history. So I do have normal dreams, but I also have these other dreams that help me understand on a grander scale what dreaming really is. This is why I call this a great Dreamtime awakening. And something that I talk about frequently, the great awakening that everyone is going through is really a dream awakening to no separation, no duality. And part of superluminal dreaming is exposing me to all the other dreaming versions of myself. You're dreaming you, I'm dreaming me, we're all dreaming each other, and the earth is dreaming all of us. Part of a grand dream on many different scales of awareness.
Yes. Now, you mentioned the Prime Creator, and we see the Prime Creator as the basically the top of the creation world, one of them, one of the big influences. Now, there's another one that we call basically the Prime Creator we see is the Kalam God. He is the benevolent and he's the evil one, the duality. Then there's the influence, and she or he basically is the sum total of all the desires and wishes of the people incarnate. Mm-hmm. And then there's the Supreme Deceptor, which is even the Kalam God, or this being doesn't even see or recognize or maybe even believe in. So he's basically, the Supreme Deceptor is like keeps us basically in this creation matrix, unaware and believing that what we agree upon is real. So these are kind of our takes on these beings. So I wonder how you see the prime creator in your referencing of reality.
All right. So prime creator, so there are an infinite amount of galaxies and universe in existence. When a new galaxy is created, there is one being who has come from some other universe, some other galaxy, who has experienced an infinitude amount of experiences and goes into void space in between galaxies and universes, and then begins collecting all of its light from many different places, spaces, and expressions. It then compresses and becomes the first galactic or universal central sun, depending on what its choice is. As it's compressing, it is going to invite other beings from other places and spaces to come and make the first ancestral guide, balance, or link to this new place or space. This is how portals are opened. So once it becomes that prime creator, it invites all these other beings to become part of a collective or oneness field. Now, the universe where we live in is one giant oneness field. So everything you described still comes down to technically we're all one, but parts of the prime creator can be much older or much younger, and the very older version of prime creator can travel back in time and meet me or you and realize there's a younger version of prime creator, or meet the younger version of prime creator who doesn't know what has been created yet, which is the language of what you just described, getting people in a chain of experiences to create mass amounts of light in a place that had no light before. And you need many different archetypes to generate a desire from other beings of light to come and get that type of experience. That's why every solar system has a star is formed out of many beings who have many connections to many different places and spaces. And once that star is formed, celestial beings will come and create planets who will then have a sub-frequency of time and invite through the star or the portal younger beings to come and age themselves in light through an experience in the celestial world.
Yes. Thank you, Andrew. Tim.
Yeah, lots of things to think about. Andrew, how do you react to these words? The real challenge for each of us is to recognize what references in creation have real value and which ones do not.
Very good statement, and I'll put it like this. There are times that something that has zero value to you, decades later will have complete value to you. So in the moment, if we no longer use judgment as a form of perception and allow an open conclusion to define a form of reality, all forms of energy can flow through you, within you, and your knowingness can rapidly expand many different ways. And another thing is this awakening we're going through, one of the biggest issues with the light worker community is they're constantly saying, it's a collective awakening. We're all going to do it at the same time. Bull hockey. It is an individual awakening first. And then once a group of individuals go through an awakening, they begin to form the first collectives of people who have sovereign space and time and cannot be affected by bullets, dollars, and economics. So value of truth in the moment is still based off of your perception, your perspective, and how expansive you allow yourself to be. So values and variables mean something to you.
Thanks again. And I have another thing I'm wondering about. Can you tell what you see in the Akashic records about the new presentation?
Well, I kind of indicated it earlier. It's like a bell curve. As you guys begin to produce light, and let go of the dirty light that's been trying to influence you, everyone, for decades, and you produce more and more pure light, this whole perspective will act like wildfire to those that already have a spiritual contract with each and every one of you as part of this presentational process. That is a constantly evolving process that must act and react to modern concepts, such as Trump in office right now. It's greatly upsetting thousands of soul families who never thought this would happen because they're poisoning this perception of patriotism in the office versus the politics of 2008 mortgage scandal. Not one banker ever went to jail. That's poisoning the system itself. So the journey here is to understand the greater perspective and how you can disentangle from it so that your presentation can connect to everybody's limited perspective. There might be a handful of words you say in one show that creates a super fan a year from now. Or there might be 5 shows that it takes to convince this person to listen to you once a month. And as you begin to put more light out and people begin to learn how to use this light and not absorb it and take it, but actually create more light with it, this is where that bell curve of your presentation goes through the roof.
Yeah, thanks again for answering the questions. I'm not sure if we have Sandy on the line today or not, if she'd like to ask or mention anything.
Sandy had to leave, but Quaddy's still here if you have anything else, Quaddy.
Yes, sir. Sandy is sort of my cherry twin, is what we call ourselves, that we look at things and see what presents itself in the form of pictures or sounds or guidances. And we're working on this information to expand what we have here of awareness that the rest of the planet is in denial of. I'll say that. They don't want to accept the idea that, yes, what's happening now is not always of their choosing. They're being enslaved. They're forced to live lives of total devastation. So many things that have happened in the last few years have been just simply astounding at what is being fostered on the population of this planet. The humans are trying to survive. The extraterrestrials who want the benefits of this planet want to take it over. And they want slave workers to provide the workforce and, of course, to provide sustenance. We see ourselves sometimes as just cattle, just here for other extraterrestrials who are very sick to take and use to sustain themselves. But this has to stop. There is a stopping point. You do not allow things to go beyond and not stand up and say something. We're very in a deep, I'm going to say, pot of boiling water, so to speak, and we need to get out of it and get on with our lives. And, of course, to do that, we've got to recognize what's right in front of us. Even though we can't see it or interact it or hear it or feel it or touch it, it's still there. And where is it also? Inside of ourselves. We need to break those contracts. In the new presentation, it's get rid of the tap lines. The extraterrestrials tap line us for their own purpose, and it's not good or healthy or for our benefit. So somebody has to stand up and say, stop, enough is enough. And
the individual has to do it. So there are a lot of people that like to do collective meditations, and I'm not a big fan of them because oftentimes they create a very dirty prayer environment. There are a lot of people that don't know how to pray, let alone have the joy of prayer. And when you have these collective meditations, lots of things can go wrong. That's why the individual must make those standard contract revocations as part of their name it to claim it journey. And I have on my website, andrewbartzis.com, 7 forms of contract revocation, 1 for government, 1 for banking, 1 for media, 1 for the divine feminine, 1 for the divine masculine. I also have one, what's called the Union and Communion Collective Consciousness Strike, which defines what the off-world beings are doing to us through tacit consent. And it poetically weaves a way to disentangle yourself from the journey of many thousands of lifetimes where tacit consent has been used against you.